Kadosh, good morning. I wanted to share with you a beautiful idea on this week's Parasha. Parashat Shelah starts off with the spies. And in the beginning of the Parasha, it says, Kulam anashim rashe b'nei Yisrael hema. All these people were people which are rashe b'nei Yisrael. What does that mean, rashe b'nei Yisrael? All anashim, as Rashi brings down, are important people. We're talking about people which are very chashuvim, right? People, think about it. You have Caleb ben Yefuneh, Yoshua bin Nun, people which are very important stature. We're not talking about regular spies. They're choosing la creme de la creme, the best of everyone. Now the Ramban actually says, he says, that even when they went and they sent them, it's according to their status quo, to their level, which means that really, be'emet, if you think about it, it's something incredible. Because Caleb was the third of importance, and Yoshua is the fifth of importance, which means that Yoshua, the next leader of Am Yisrael, was the fifth in the level of these people, and Caleb was the third. So imagine people that were greater than them, and still, what happens? All of a sudden, from these important people, they go down to the depths. They start speaking Lashon Hara against the land of Israel, and then afterwards against HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that they even say, Ki chazaku mimenu, that it's even stronger than Hashem, chas v'shalom. That ki'ilu, that these giants are too powerful. We can't go against them. And the question that we ask ourselves is, how could it be? How could it be that in such a short time of 40 days, and because of every single day that was done with the Avirah, for 40 years they had to be in the desert, Yom Lashana, a day per year? How do we understand that they fell so quickly? How do we understand that all of a sudden everything just went up in flames? Everything. They were people, very important people, and they lost everything. What happened exactly? So it says over here, we found the answer in the Mesilat Yesharim. The Mesilat Yesharim at the end of Perek Yud Aleph, in the middle of his words, when we're talking about the Gnuta Kavod, when we're talking about what it is, the negativity of looking and running after respect. People, they run for honor. People, it's incredible. They'll run, they want to have the most important of the aliyot. It's either shishi or nothing. They want the most important of everything. And if you don't give them the best in the house, whether it's the front seats or whether it's going to be, right, the first turn or the first of everything, what happens? That's it. They close the door. They don't want anything. Now, why? What is that exactly? The Mesilat Yesharim says like this, right? He's speaking about the negativity of running and pursuing honor. And he says, the kavod is what Chazal come and they say, caused the Meraglim, that they were going to pursue and they were going to speak negative of the land of Israel. And it caused death to them and to their entire generation. Why? Because they thought they were going to lose their honor. Which means they thought they were going to lose their honor. They thought they were going to go into the land of Israel, and now all of a sudden, instead of being on high positions, they were going to lose it. In order not to lose that position of honor that they had, they destroyed everything. They caused death to themselves, and they caused death to all of Am Yisrael. Why? Because of the kavod. Running and pursuing honor. That was everything. So come Chazal and they say, you know what that means? The kavod is something that was so strong that caused them to be kofer ba'ikar. It caused them to rebel against Hashem. Because if a person just because of kavod wants to do something, that's one thing. But here it's the kavod caused them that they're going to say that not even Hashem could go withstand against these giants. That means the kavod drew them out of their religion even. Out of their emunah, their belief in God, out of everything that they had. And that's why we understand in the Mishnah, in Pirkei Avot, Perek Dal, Mishnah Kaf Aleph says, Hakina ve'atava ve'akavod, that even kavod is motziin et ha'adam min ha'olam, takes a person out of this world. Why can kavod take a person out of this world? Because he just comes and he completely goes berserk. He go crazy. They don't understand what they're doing anymore. Even more, with all the pachad of the kavod, what kavod are we already talking about? You understand? We, at the beginning, we thought, and that's what we were saying, they were anashim kesherim, important people. The Balaturim says that they weren't even the Nesim. Because if you think about it, when we mentioned the Nesim in Parashat Bamidbar, Parashat Naso twice, we didn't mention them as the princes of the tribes. But what were they? It says, Rashe Beni Israel Hemma. Hemma is the numerical value of 50. They were the ones in charge of the 50s. Meaning, if you understand, they were the people that were in charge of the entire Shevet, right? The prince of the Shevet. And then afterward, there were people in charge of the hundreds, of the thousands, of the this and the that, and they continue going. But these weren't the people in charge of the tens. They were the ones in charge of 50s, which means that they weren't the highest of the levels. They were in the middle there. But even if they were in the middle, they wanted that respect so much that you're going to take away that position of honor. That's it, right? You're finished. And therefore, Kam Chachamim. Here it says that there were 12,000 Sarei Chamishim, 12,000 people exactly like them on the same statue, right, on the same level of honor, of respect. So imagine, because there was 12,000 Sarei Chamishim, you had 6,000 Sarei Meot, 6,000 Sarei Alafim. So each one, which were higher. So imagine, there were a lot of people that were above them in their status quo, but still all of a sudden they came, and because of losing this honor, they lost everything. The Lev Shalom, Rabbi Shalom Shudron, he comes and he says something incredible. He says, do you know that was also the downfall of Haman? Haman, as it says in Megillah, Perek Vav, Pasuk Vav, Vayomer Haman belibo, Haman says in his heart, who does the king want to do more kavod than me? What does that mean? In the sechel of Haman, there could be hundreds of people that the king wants to give respect to. But all of a sudden, Haman, because of his respect, he cannot find anybody else. He doesn't see anybody else. He only sees himself. So since he only sees himself, he cannot see other people. So what happens is that since he only sees himself and not other people, right? All of a sudden, he didn't get that kavod. But he tells the king, you have to put on this and you have to put on that. And that causes downfall because the king realized that all he was looking for was respect and the kingdom for himself. And that was the start of his entire downfall, right? Even more than that, he didn't see anything other than kavod. It says in the pasuk, he says, Bechol Osho, he says, Ela kavod, it says in the pasuk, right? Vaisaper lahem Haman. Haman comes and he tells his friends, Et kevod oshro verov banav. What is kevod oshro? The honor of his wealth, the honor of his banim. He didn't see his wealth as wealth. It's money equals kavod. He didn't even see children as children. Children, a lot of children equals kavod. For him, anything that he looked at in life was all to do with what kavod do I take from it? How do I take from this respect, honor? I want to be honorable. I want people to stand up for me. I want people to abide by me. I want people to listen to me. I want to be the star of the show as always. And that's what people have to realize, right? That here, all of a sudden, he doesn't realize it. And then what happens? There's one Jew, the one little Jew that his name is Mordechai, and he doesn't want to bow down. And now he says, everything that I have, right, is not shaveh to me. Why is it not shaveh exactly? How could it be that it's not worth it? Because to do with kavod, the second that you're lacking a little bit of kavod, you have nothing. Kavod is medumeh, which we're going to explain in a few minutes. Kavod is fake. It's not real. So since it's not real, the second that you're lacking part of the fakeness, you know it's not real. You know that there's nothing there. And therefore, afterwards, he comes and he says that he took this from Esav. Remember that Haman comes from Amalek. Amalek comes from Esav. Vayivez be'enav. It says, Vayivez be'enav, bazui ben bazui. Esav looked disgraceful upon the Bechorah, upon the firstborn. And Haman looked disgraceful upon Mordechai. Why? If Mordechai doesn't want to bow down to you, kill Mordechai. No, he's going to kill one person. It's not his respect. Well, he's going to go against one. He has to go against the entire nation. He needs everybody there. But what exactly, where do we see this from? The Mekor is from Esav. Esav, I understand, he comes home and he's hungry and he wants to eat. So what happens? He's going to come and ask his brother, give it to me. What do I need, Bechorah? If I'm going to die, give me to eat. Fine. So now he ate. What do you do after eating? Regret what you did. Say to your brother, you know what, listen, my brother, don't be so mean. You know, you're trying to trick me, this, that. I was very hungry. You know, I couldn't withstand myself, but now I'm calmed down. I don't want to sell you my Bechorah. But Esav, no. Vayivez Esav et Bechorah. He disgraced it. Why? A person, because of his kavod, he will not admit to his mistakes. Because of his kavod, he will not admit to his faults. He will not admit to saying, I am wrong. It doesn't exist. Because a person that has too much kavod, for them, I'm never wrong. I am wrong? I'm never wrong. The word wrong is not my vocabulary. It doesn't exist by me. And that's by the Rishaim. They're always pursuing so much honor that it's not from their kavod to say that they're wrong. They're always right. So now we understand, and we could try to delve a little bit deeper what exactly is kavod. When we understand what is kavod, Tavata kavod is not because it tastes good. Because really, be'emet, it's fake. You don't get enjoyment from it. You know that it's fake. But the entire thing is imagination. The entire thing is the dimayon. It's in your head. And anything that you benefit from the kavod is not because of the kavod. It's because they did what you want. As long as they fulfill your will, they do what you want, you're happy. And therefore, if it's going to be that even one person will not do what you want, nothing is worth it anymore. And that's what we explained before. Haman, he had everything going for him. He was the second in command. He had all the money, children, everything that he wanted. Do you really care about one person not giving you that respect? Do you really care? But what? The concept is very, very simple. The concept is that a person, when he wants the kavod, when he wants this respect, as we say, so all of a sudden he doesn't care about anything else. All he cares about is this kavod that he's going to get. And therefore, for him, in his mind, right, what he needs is to only understand, right, the following, that the kavod is fake. And therefore, don't ever, but it's all ritzono. Ezu kivodo ritzono. For example, if your father wants you to wake him up, yeah, should you wake him up or not? He told you. What is the kavod? Ritzono. If his will is to wake him up, so by fulfilling his will, you're giving him respect. And that's what is kavod. Kavod is the ritzon of a human being, what people want. And therefore, if you're going to come and you're going to fulfill that, you're giving them that respect. When we speak about the concept of kavod, there's no shiur, there's no measurement to what it is. There was a famous Gemara, Masechet Gitin, of Nun Zayin Amud Bet, just to show you until where kavod comes from. We know there was a story of Chana and her 7 kids. This is not the same Chana with Shemuel and Avi. There's Chana and her 7 kids. That during the time, what there was, there's a big difference over there in Midrashim or the Gemara, was during the time of Chanukah or during the time of the destruction of Bet HaMikdash. But for sure, the story was true. And this Chana went with her 7 kids to the Caesar. And the Caesar comes and he tells them, bow down to me and to my idols. And every single one of the kids said, no, no, no. They kept on bringing psukim. They kept on bringing things, and he kept on killing them. And the mother is watching how her 7 children are being killed. When it came to the youngest child, that he was mamash, a little young child, the Caesar went and he told the youngest child, he says, misken for you. He says, you're so young. Your brothers, at least they lived a little bit. At least they enjoyed. But for you, you're so young. What? You know what? At least live the life. You know what? We'll make a deal. I'm going to take off my ring and I'm going to drop it. You're going to come and you're going to pick it up to return it to me. But by doing so, you're going to bow down. And now you bow down to me. So said the child, he says, I don't understand you. He says, if right now, for the respect of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for sure I have to give up my life. And he gave up his life, and then afterwards, Chana, they went and they gave up their lives. And she went and she kissed her child and she told him, go tell Avraham Avinu that you went and you sacrificed one child. And I went and I sacrificed 7 children to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that was her message to the last child that was going to be killed right in front of her eyes. And now come Chachamim and they say like this, what a fool! The Caesar, he doesn't realize what he's doing. He knows very well that this child is not bowing down to him. And he's not bowing down to his idols. But what is he telling the child to do? To make a game, to make a fake. What's the fake? I'm going to drop my ring. It's only respect that you return the ring to the king. So you're going to go bow down. The Caesar doesn't realize that it's fake. But again, the power of the respect, the power of kavod is so strong that it's too strong for them. It doesn't let them. And therefore for him, he knows that it's fake, but it doesn't matter. As long as they bow down to me and everyone saw that he bows down to me, I have my respect. You know that it's not true. Doesn't matter. For him, that doesn't make a difference. For him, all that makes a difference is that they went and they bowed down to me. And now we understand why it says, Hakina ve'atava kavod motzin et ha'adam min ha'olam. A person that never smoked doesn't know what smoking is, so he doesn't know what he's missing. But a person that knows what it is, he becomes subjugated to respect. He becomes so deeply entrangled in the honor that he can't with himself. All that he looks at is respect, and he needs that respect, and he wants that respect. And if he doesn't get that respect, he'll do everything against him. It doesn't even make sense. He'll sell himself off. He's destroying himself, his family, and everyone else. But it doesn't matter. It's the kavod that he wants. And he wants that kavod, and he wants that respect that's actually going to destroy everything. And that's why it's so important for us to understand. There's a beautiful Sichot Musar of Chaim Shmulevitz. And this is a very famous Gemara as well. Gemara in Sanhedrin, Kuf Bet Amud Aleph. The Gemara in Sanhedrin comes and says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took Yerovam ben Nevat. And he grabbed him and he told him, do teshuvah. And if you do teshuvah, myself, you, and Ben Ishai, the son of Ben Ishai, David Ben Ishai will walk together in Gan Eden. Asks Yerovam ben Nevat, Mi barosh, who's going to be first? Is it David Ben Ishai or me? Answers HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ben Ishai barosh. Ben Ishai is going to go first. So he comes and he says, if it's like that, I don't want it. Explain the rabbis. And he says of Chaim Shmulevitz, let's just try to analyze what's going on here. Yerovam ben Nevat, had a very big problem. Remember that Yerovam was we're going to call it the competition of Rehovam. Rehovam was the son of Shlomo Melech. Shlomo Melech was king over all of Israel. Remember that the way that it worked is that first you had Shaul. Shaul was king over all of Israel. Then David HaMelech was only king over Hebron and other places, right? Malchut Israel, right? It was Malchut Yehuda. And then he became king over all of Israel. And then Shlomo was king over all of Israel. His son did not listen to the advice of the elders. And because of that, they went and they split. There was Yehuda and Binyamin, and then there was going to be the 10 tribes. So the 10 tribes had Malchut Israel and Malchut Yehuda. Yerovam ben Nevat was Malchut Israel. And Rehovam was the son of Shlomo Melech, so it was Malchut Bet David. There's a general rule, the way that we paskin is that there's only one king that could sit in the Bet HaMikdash, in the Azara. The only king that could sit in the Azara is Malchut Bet David. If you're not Malchut Bet David, you cannot sit in the Azara. So Yerovam ben Nevat was greater, he was the greatest of his generation in learning. But because of the kavod, that how could it be that he's going to come to the Bet HaMikdash and he's not going to sit down, and his competition is going to be able to sit down? He went and he made egels. He went and he made avodah zaras, and he wanted the people don't have to go to the Bet HaMikdash. HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and he tells him, listen, you know what? Do teshuvah. And if you do teshuvah, we're going to be walking in Gan Eden. Says Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, listen to the words of the Gemara. Chazor becha, retract, va'ani, and I, ve'ata, and you, uben Yishai and ben Yishai, netayel beGan Eden. We're going to be traveling, we're going to be walking together, strolling in Gan Eden. If I ask you right now, who's going to be the head? What are you going to answer me? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ata, you, Yerovam ben Nevat, and ben Yishai. So you're already in the head. Yerovam ben Nevat was looking for kavod so much, he wanted to hear it. So he asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mi barosh, who's first? HaKadosh Baruch Hu already told you who's first. What do you mean? Why do you have to ask? You were already told. Ani ve'ata uben Yishai. Me, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ata, you, and then ben Yishai. I told you you're first. But there's a general rule. The general rule is somebody that runs after kavod, the kavod runs away from him. So Gemara Neruvin, you give it a bet, Midrash Tanchuma, Mesilat Yesharim. If you run after kavod, the kavod runs away from you. So now, what happens is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu answers him, sorry. Now that you wanted to hear who's going to be first, now it's Ben Yishai. It switched. Before you asked, it was going to be you were going to be first. But now that you asked, now Ben Yishai is going to be first. David Ben Yishai is going to be first. So now says Yerovam, I don't want it then. It's not worth it. You know what that means? It's not worth it. You just gave up on Gan Eden. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told you, retract, do teshuvah. Come back to me. I'll accept you. No, I don't want it. If I don't get that kavod, I don't want anything. And now we understand what it means. Kavod is something so powerful that we don't understand. Right? We cannot even fathom what happens, right? From everything that happens all around us. And that's why it's so important, right? For us just to understand where we're going, where we headed. Why? Do you know, it was actually brought down, what's stronger? Ta'ava or kavod? Desires or honor? So imagine right now you have in front of you a lot of food. And you have a ta'ava, you have a desire. You want to eat. But it's not mechubad. Well, you're going to start, taking like that. You have to eat, a gentleman. You have to, but that's kavod. So who wins? Who wins? You know the famous story I always mention, and the famous joke with the French. That there was a group of French people. They went right to a big party, and you know how the French are. They make beautiful delicatessen, and they make beautiful pastries and this and everything. But they're very, polite. You have etiquette. They eat pizza with a knife and a fork, right? French fries with a fork. You understand? You can't just with your hands. Or it's not kavod. You understand? You have etiquettes. You have manners. You have politeness. So nobody was touching the food because they were all, they were all very cautious. And all of a sudden, what happens? A blackout. And you hear screaming and running and screaming. They don't know what's going on. And all of a sudden, what do? You turn on the light and snap pictures. What is it? You see everyone there, they took. Somebody went and they started stabbing. People were grabbing with their hands the food. And other people were trying to grab with forks. So they stuck the fork into somebody's hand. And then people are screaming and people are going crazy. But why? Because you see from here, the kavod is the biggest push of a human being. Meaning more than anything else, what pushes a human being is respect. The kavod, whether it's of himself or that he wants of himself, that is even stronger of his own desires. Because that's stronger than them, right? And that's why it's so important for us just to understand, because the more kavod that we give to a person, the more kavod they take away from the person. There was a famous story with the Chavetz Chaim. The Chavetz Chaim, when he once traveled from the yeshiva to a certain place, he didn't want to tell them that he was coming. So all of a sudden he just arrived, and people were very upset. They wanted to know, when is the Chavetz Chaim coming in order to give him that kavod. So he went, and when he got there, he started laughing, and he said, I have no safek that you eat kugel on Shabbat. Kugel, by the way, in Chaketia, it's a tortilla. You know, usually it's with potatoes and this and that, but there's no egg, but it's with potatoes. It's called kugel. Yeah, so fine. So he says, I would for sure tell them, right? He says, no, if I'm going to tell you now, why don't you just eat it? Imagine right now I'm going to tell you, eat the fina or the chamin or the chulent, eat it on Friday. What are you going to tell me? So listen, it's not the same. You eat it only on Shabbat. On Shabbat, you're supposed to eat it. So finish the Chavetz Chaim, and he said, right, this is kugel. And kugel we only eat on a day that is only 100% Shabbat in Olam Haba. So he says, if somebody is now going to come and tell me, have it on Erev Shabbat, it's better to stay hungry on Erev Shabbat. Which means the Chavetz Chaim was coming and trying to tell us and trying to teach us a point. The kavod, the real kavod, in kavod de la Torah, that's after 120. After 120, that's when the kavod is. Beforehand, you don't want to use that kavod. Because then what happens is you're wasting all your cards, you're wasting all your money. Imagine in this world, we're going to come and we're going to get all that respect. The more kavod that we get in this world, the less that we get in the next world. And that's why people, many times, they don't look at it this way, but they have to look at it this way. We don't realize that some people, they want to have a tombstone when they're alive. If you would say that to people, they would, say, they would become very, all afraid. Oh, what, tombstone when they're lifetime? But they want it. Certain people, they only want to donate if their name is in big and their name is everywhere. But if their name is not there, they don't want to donate because they want to see that their name is there. And you ask them, and you say to yourself, 1 second, Ribono Shel Olam, why do you need your name there? The name is like a tombstone. Donated by so-and-so. Who cares who donated it? You did a mitzvah. Do it quietly. Do it behind closed doors. But it's a problem in kavod. It has to be there for their kavod. But they don't realize that because of that kavod that they got, they took away from the reward in Olam Haba. And all of a sudden in Olam Haba, they want to come and they say, yeah, but I had this mitzvah. I said, yeah, but you already got paid for it. How did I get paid for it? You know how you got paid for it? All that kavod that you got downstairs, that's how you got paid for it. And even after death, the same thing happens. There was a famous story that happened, that there was a talmid in a big group that the rabbi passed away, and him and all his students were there, and they were doing the burial, the funeral, and there was a rasha that he also passed away. And what happened was that this rasha was also there in the middle of the funeral. And when they were coming close to each other and they're coming together, what happened was all of a sudden it started a big war. There was things, people ran away. There was one student that he stayed from far, but he waited there. He wanted to make sure that his rabbi was going to be okay, right? The coffin. All of a sudden they all come back, right? They were able to get off them. Police came. They were able to get everything back, and they switched the coffins. And the coffin of the rasha was taken with a big kavod, and the coffin of the tzaddik was taken basically hardly with not even 10 people. The student was screaming, was telling them, no, but this is my Rebbe. Nothing. It didn't help. Nobody listened. Nobody paid attention. So he went and he was suffering and suffering. How could it be that his rabbi had such a disgrace and such a funeral and it was burning inside of him? Until finally his rabbi came to him in a dream. And his rabbi told him, you should know, this is my portion in Olam Haba. Look at this. And he says, now I'm going to show you the portion of the rasha. And he showed him the portion in Gehinam. But he said, but I'm going to tell you something. I went and I did a certain avirah. And because of that avirah, I had to be punished for it. So the punishment is that I wasn't going to get the proper respect due. And therefore, at the funeral, he didn't get that respect. However, though, this rasha, once he wanted to make a big party, and it got lost. It got destroyed. He wasn't able to do it. He gave all that food to the poor people. Because of that one mitzvah, they gave him all that kavod in order to pay him back. Which means that even at the funeral of a person, that kavod could take it away. And that's why I still remember until today, I went to Rabbi Yitzchak ben Walid in Tetuan, and in his coffin, what's written? Usually people nowadays want it to be written. Ha Chacham HaShalem V'Avatik, Hadayan HaMetzuyan, Hamluban, the Mekubal Eloki, and all these names and everything. Just like people, they want after their names. After the name, they want MDA, this, that, CPA, this, that. They want 20 different letters, right, to their names, as if like acronyms for different things. He says, do you know what was on his tombstone? Nothing. Not written, one word. You know how you knew it was his? Because beside him is his son. And on his son's tombstone, it's just written his name. That's it. Not rabbi, not that, nothing. He did not want anything written on his tombstone. Why didn't he want anything written on his tombstone? Because he wanted that even that would be paid back upstairs. He didn't want to take nothing in this world. Because everything that you take in this world, you're actually depleting, you're actually taking it away from that which you're going to get in the next world. He understood this. And he knew that kavod is not true. It's fake. It once happened that Rav Chaim Shmulevitz said that he was in the middle of a shiur, and his Rebbe went and he said, do you know in all of America they're learning Rav Chaim's? And he turned to him. Now Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, he said that at the time that he turned to him, he felt like gold. Right? Because his name is Chaim, so Rav Chaim. But he knew very well that he wasn't referring to him. He was referring to Rav Chaim Mibrisk. But the fact that he said the same name and he turned to him, he made him feel like gold. But it was midumeh, it's fake. He knows that it doesn't refer to him. But the kavod is something which is incredible. And that's why it's so fake, but it still changed everything. And that's so now we understand what happened with the Meraglim. The Meraglim were able to sell everything that they had. Themselves, their respect, everything. Why? Because of kavod. Once kavod came into the equation, they lost hold of everything that they had, and they had to stop Israel, Bnei Israel, from coming into Israel. So they went and they spoke Lashon Hara, and they spoke this, and they did this. All the ikar was that because they wanted to watch over on their own respect. I just hope we're able to internalize this message, because I think it's an incredible message for ourselves to realize that true kavod is only after 120. Ben kavod el Torah, Torah, the more Torah that you learn, the more that we continue growing, that's what we have to do. That is true respect that we have to do. Kevodo zeu ratzono, that's his ratzon, the human being's will, that's his kavod. Kavod is the most pushing aspect of a person. It pushes us to do everything, is that kavod. So we just have to realize this, to realize that Bezrat Hashem, we want to save that kavod for later on. We don't want that kavod for now. We want to make sure that we're able to get all of that after 120 years, when that be'emet, that respect is truly a true reward, and not the fake kavod that we're going to get in this world. Shabbat Shalom.